Good morning. We're at Oak Haven in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. It's October 21st, 2021.
It's the 22nd.
22nd. I'm sitting here with Betty and Glenn Coulters, 6 children and their loving and reluctant spouses, to sit in for a quick, brief interview of all these beautiful children together. We've compiled some questions from their offspring of what they wanted to ask from kind of us sitting here. So we're going to start with the oldest, who's the oldest?
That would be me. Trick question.
Please introduce yourself, your wife, and all of your children and their children.
I'm Dave. This is Judy. I married way above myself. And our children, we've got Chris and Shanna. Their children are Emma, Juliana, Melanie, Jack, Andrew. And then we've got, located in the Garden State of New Jersey, we've got Jason and Julie with their children Abby and Zach. And then in Knoxville, we have Julie and Kirk with their 2 lovely boys, Cole and Webb.
The first question we have for you, Dave, from your children is, as the oldest, how did you help break in Nana and Beepaw for all of the younger siblings? Please cite examples.
Wow. Well, as to quote Mother in that video that you viewed last night, David, he was the bad child. And what I did was that I drank copious quantities of alcohol, and then I'd go home and I would deny that I had anything to drink. And so
Thank you.
I set them all
I
up
appreciate it.
that it couldn't get any worse. And I don't know if it did or not, because I kind of meandered off on my own path for a while, but it was like my good friend Tom Owen and I. Tom was a motorhead. He loved motorcycles and cars, and he wanted his mom to buy him a new motorcycle, and the reason was that the one he had wasn't powerful enough to jump over these 2 cliffs. And so Tom had me lay down on the ground and he would jump, and I would take pictures of him showing his mother how his motorcycle was insufficient. It was that kind of thing. That had nothing to do with anything. But.
Judy,
Yes.
your question, as the first grandmother in the family,
Yeah.
what wisdom do you have for all the other mothers and grandmothers in the family?
Oh, just love them as we all know we do. There's no real wisdom. Your children, having children is the most beautiful thing in the world. You see them mature before your eyes, and the best thing not to do is to tell them how to raise their children. Whatever they do, you agree with, unless they ask your opinion. And then you can give an opinion. But I think the best thing as grandparents is, you help them when they ask, and you offer to keep their kids. But you never say, don't do it this way, do it this way. I'm short.
Steve, are you the second oldest?
I am indeed.
You want to introduce us to yourself and your...
I would love to. This is my lovely wife, Patty. My lovely wife of 50 years, I might add. We have 3 children. The oldest is Jay. and his wife is Chris, and they have 2 children, Stephen and Lucy. And then second oldest is Kelly, lives in Cincinnati with her lovely daughter, Madison. And then last but not least, there's Christy, and she is married to Brian, and they have 2 children, Mary and Bree.
Is that all right, Patty?
Yeah, I'm trying to pay attention. Make sure he gets them all right.
All right, Steve. What was Beepaw's military career and job?
Dad was a military instructor for flying planes, primarily the B-17. And so he taught guys how to fly.
And how long did he do that for?
I don't recall exactly, but he did it all during the war, obviously.
Is that when they were in Walla Walla, Washington?
They were in Walla Walla, Washington. Dad spent some time in Germany, and
After the war.
yeah, but I have the beer mugs that, that were his. So,
Did he ever fly after the war?
And then, yeah, after the war, what did he ever fly or instruct again?
he didn't instruct, but he did fly. When we were growing up, he was with Atlas Paper Box Company, or I think it's also called Top Flight, and he was a salesman, and he flew the plane. The company had a plane. Actually, I think they had two. I mean, he flew that on business, and he also took Dave and I up in the air.
Yeah. Flew to Memphis a couple of times.
Yeah, and actually, he and the Ed Davises would fly the plane off on trips to various places. And I know my grandmother was always upset with that because here the Ed Davises had six?
Six.
Yeah, so both had 6 children and they were off in the air.
What could go wrong?
What could possibly go wrong? But they had fun with it.
Patty? I like how this question's worded. Do you have a favorite Coulter family reunion? So I guess you could answer no. I'm assuming if yes, why was it your favorite?
Oh, geez, they were all great. I don't know which one was the best. I mean, I think our kids liked it when we all got together, every single one of us, and we'd play games at night. And remember, everybody was responsible for a night to do games, and it was just a whole lot of fun. So I can't tell you which one was the best. Softball games. Softball, yeah. Softball.
What were some of the games that y'all would play? I mean, I'm thinking Parcheesi. What would y'all do? The spin top game from Nana's house?
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. We just played. Yeah,
A casino night one time.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
Yeah, well, softball games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We did have casino
Talent
night.
shows.
What?
Talent
shows, that's fun.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What was the show?
T-E-double-N-E.
Crossword
Yeah.
puzzles.
Yeah.
Was there Pictionary?
There was a cheer I saw once of T-E-double-N-E.
Yeah, yeah.
And then John would jump out and yell, Tennessee!
Now there was one where they made up a play that involved every one of y'all.
Yeah,
And that was the one I think that they went T-E-double-N-E.
that was it.
Yeah.
Did they record that with a phonograph?
I don't think they invented the phonograph.
All right, Kitty,
Yes.
please introduce yourself and your lovely husband.
All right, I am Kitty, the third born, but the firstborn girl.
Yes.
So extra bossy. And,
We had to edit those questions out.
bossy ones, yeah. And this is my beloved husband of 52 years.
Oh!
Whoa, yeah.
We have 3 children. We have Amy, who lives in Ohio and teaches at Franciscan. We have Katie as our second born, married to Justin Williams. They have 6 children, Anna Catherine, Delaney, Christian, Amelia, Coulter, and Fulton. And then we have John, the baby of the family. They live in North Carolina. Katie lives in North Carolina as well. He is married to Robin, and they have 6 children. The twins, Michael and Nicholas, then Felicity, Jack, Megan, and Alice. Yeah.
You got it.
You got, that was
And
impressive.
Terry has their birthdays in his wallet.
The twins help with that. All right, Kitty, the question that you have is, what were some of Nana's best qualities? We figured you as the oldest girl could really pull those out.
Well, she was very industrious. She sewed. We only had 1 car, so she was home. And I know I would go to school and come home, and she would have made me a dress. And in my lovely teenage, happiness, I would hate it. She had worked the whole day, and I go, this makes me look fat. But she gardened, she cooked, she, in later years, she of course did the rug hooking, but she had lots of friends, she loved her friends. Also, the other thing about Nana is that she would take the 1 car and get up dark and early, go to Mass, and come home in time to wake us up and give us breakfast, which was a big breakfast. Bacon, eggs, grits, oatmeal, wee.
Yeah.
Well,
And
Good job.
The hardest thing he ever did.
And she would cook us a big breakfast. The other thing that I remember her on Sundays during the summer, then we'd get up in the morning and we'd smell fried chicken cooking.
Mm-hmm.
So she would have gone to early Mass, and of course Daddy
I don't know who wrote this one, but it got deep.
I'm exhausted. Is it break time?
That has Katie written all over.
Just to let everyone know, it's 10 a.m., so no one's been drinking that we know of.
Hey,
Oh, Mark.
except your mother.
Oh, well, let's see. I don't think that it was anything really to remark on. It was good.
First of all, let's make it an
Way to
easier
go,
question.
Terry.
It was fine.
How did
Everything's
you
gonna work out.
How did you know the family? Because I didn't even know that was I didn't know that you knew the family before you started.
Oh, the story.
So tell us how you knew the Coulter family.
Well, my dad used to work at a company called Provident, and Provident had lake property up on Chickamauga Lake where the employees would go up there and spend the day picnicking and swimming in the lake. And because the Coulters and the Roberts, along with several other families, after the war had lived in some apartments down in North Georgia, Fort Oglethorpe, and officers coming back from the war, there was a shortage of housing, but the officers could live down there in these houses or apartments in Fort Oglethorpe. So the Coulters had been down there, as well as the Roberts, so that's how my mom and dad got to know Betty and Glenn. So they kept up the relationship as they moved out and moved into their own homes and so on, and it was at least an annual trip up to the Provident Lake property to Dad and Glenn weren't with them, but Mom and Betty and all the kids. So I knew Tom and Steve and Dave, and we had a big time up there. Kitty was kind of a little runt. And more of
You said lovingly.
more of a nuisance than really part of the group, if you know what I mean.
He
I
was
mean,
a
Dave
jerk.
and Steve had gone to a Boston Red Sox game at Fenway Park. I mean, this was the type of stuff you wanted to talk about. You know? But
Not some ill-fitting dress.
that's right. Well, as fate would have it, you get older, you get in your teenage years, you find other interests, you have a girlfriend and everything, so you don't go to the lake anymore. So you don't go to the lake for 2 or 3 years. Then one year your girlfriend has jilted you. and your mother says, you really ought to come to the lake. Coulters going to go up to the lake. You say, well, I really don't want to go to the lake. I said, no, you really ought to. He said, that Kitty Coulters really turned into quite a young lady.
Her dress is fit now.
I was on the rebound, so I said, well, okay, I'll go. And sure enough, Kitty Coulter was quite a young lady.
And the rest
So
is history.
starting to date Kitty and seeing her brothers and
They said take her.
yeah, it
So you're saying you were just as surprised as
it was, yeah, well, she can tell that story, but it took a while for her to see my attributes.
Still waiting for her to take them.
Still working on that one.
Yeah,
That's not so.
still working on it. But anyway, yeah, so yeah, it was easy to get back in that family.
And
Let's win this.
I've noticed y'all have matching outfits on.
And please be as verbose as them.
I'm Ann, married to Jeff for 41 years.
Yeah.
We have 3 children. Andrew's married to Jessica, and they have 5 children. Barnes, Francis, Shepherd, Ellis, Reed, 2 dogs, Stella and Scully.
Solid.
Sully, yeah.
Oh, dog question.
Then we have Rebecca, who's married to Jeff, and they have 3 daughters. Kaylee, Edith, I'm sorry, and Helen. And then we have sweet Elizabeth, who just finished her degree in physical therapy and lives in Charleston and works at a PT clinic in Charleston.
All right, your question, which I think is a great one.
Oh,
Since you're the middle girl, how did BPAW's, it doesn't say Nana, it says BPAW's dating policies evolve from Kitty to you to Mary?
let's talk about that.
Yeah, let's.
So it is a good question.
Yeah.
Whenever I had a date, the young man had to come to the door and shake hands with Daddy, and he would always be right there in the living room, stand up, go to the door, had to shake hands, and if he ever happened to be like, he wasn't in that room and we started to walk out, he would be on the porch and practically jump off the porch. Hello, I'm Glenn Coulter. And as you know, I really can't remember. Usually when I came home, he was asleep. But he was always there,
He was
up
there.
and chatting when we left. Now, how did that change?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know, Mary got everything.
That question is on the list.
And you
as
know,
I should have.
Mary became an only child when she was about
6th grade.
yeah, 6th grade. So she was you know, they were probably very protective, and which makes it shocking, Mark.
Can you see mine?
What?
But Daddy was very protective of his girls, and he was very much wanted to make sure that we were sure about who we were marrying, and he just always took the time to talk to us about relationships.
And what about those last 4 words he said to you? Anybody but a Jew.
He did not say that.
I just want to clarify.
That's 5 words.
That's true, that's fine.
Jeff, we considered just giving you the open floor, but we decided to contain you a bit. So your question is,
Bless you.
what is the best and worst thing about marrying into the Coulter family?
Maybe we should take a break before this answer.
2 words. No comment.
You don't have a best thing?
You should say,
Another 2 words. No comment.
you have to say and Jeff, is the best thing.
Oh yeah, and thank you.
Okay.
You didn't say which was the best. Is it the best? Is and the best or the worst?
1 word.
No.
And. Tom?
All right, Tom.
Okay, I'm Tom.
Hello, Tom.
I'm a workaholic.
You're in the right place. Keep coming back.
Program.
And to do all this naming all the kids, I'm going to turn that over to Mindy.
Oh, you
My
can
wife.
do it. You know your kids' names.
I know the kids' names,
You know your grandchildren.
but
Go for it, Tom.
You
can do it.
You can do this.
okay. We got John Michael. He's married to Ashley. He's got Grayson, Callie, Caitlin, and Claire.
Very
And
good.
then we have Meredith, Marie. She
This
is
is what I
married
was
to
worried about.
Igor, and they have 2 children, Nico and Mary. Then we have William Thomas Coulter, who is not married, and that's not really his name, but I thought it was, for about 18 years.
Isn't it William Matthews?
It's William
Matthew
Matthews.
and Davis
And
Thomas.
Davis Thomas. But I thought it was the other way around. I really wasn't consulted on the names. And then, of course, Davis Thomas, and that is our 4 children and grandchildren.
Good
That
job,
was
Tom.
good, and you know Igor's last name now.
Yes.
You're looking his phone.
Or-
Your question is pretty obvious based on where you're sitting. What was it like being raised as a boy among girls?
Awesome.
There you go.
I mean, it was fabulous, really. I didn't really know Dave and Steve because they were.
How old
I mean,
were
I
you?
don't know how
Growing
old y'all
gone.
were.
How old were you when you when Steve left?
Don't ask
Ish.
me.
How old were you when
10.
you left the house?
I was 8 when Dave left and 10 when Steve left. So I thought it was awesome because they left the room we were on. Well,
There was a
That's
better
not-
opportunity for seconds on chicken.
that, yeah, I mean, that's really not true because Mary and I were together for, for 5, till I guess she was in the 6th grade. I can't remember. But it was awesome, yeah. And I do think it affected, I mean, I certainly didn't have any curiosity about females. 0. So that was good. I was never girl crazy. crazy. I never would have had a date if Ann hadn't. Ann and her friends, I was like their little pet, and they'd get me a date. I had zero interest in getting a date. But overall, I'd just say it was awesome.
Good answer.
Good answer. Mindy, which siblings or their spouses provided you the best advice when joining the Coulter family? Or the worst advice?
All of them. I soaked it all in. I got advice from everybody. And even if it wasn't advice, I watched and listened and just learned so much.
What not to do?
Everything. Probably the most, though, really was their mother. My mother-in-law was just the best. I mean, everything they had put together times two, and then that was her. Word. I know, I just want to be like her. Like, that's all I can think of, is just be like her and you'll be all right. All of them. And I've told Kitty this to her face before, like, role model. Like, I just look, and I've repeated things she said to my daughter-in-law and my daughter, and just, all of them. I can't think of any bad advice.
Dang, where are the tissues?
I know. I don't think of bad advice.
Not a bad apple in the bunch.
That's right. Believe it or not, there is a tremendous ability to keep mouths shut when they need to be kept shut.
Really?
And so I can't think of any bad words or bad advice or anything like that. So all is meant well. If it does come out bad, I guess you always think, well, it was meant well. It comes from a place of love. But yeah, just everything from, probably even weddings to, home life, to raising children, to grandchildren.
To snickerdoodles.
Yeah, everything. Lots of good recipes, yeah.
All right, Mary, I think that you're about to be off the frame of the camera, so lean in close. Please introduce yourself.
I'm Mary, the youngest of the clan, and this is my husband Mark of 37 years. We have 5 children. Brian, the oldest, and he's married to Jo Beth, and they have 2 children, Reese and Mitchell. And then we have Stuart. No one else is married, so Brian's up. So we have to go from there. Stuart, Laura, Rachel, and Beth. I think that's everybody.
Your question, which I think that you could anticipate coming. As the baby, did you get away with everything?
Yes. She was perfect.
In every way.
I think I did as a kid, but I guess I did, but I don't know. I was a pretty good kid. I didn't get into trouble very much.
So you should get
Because
away
of the
with it.
previous breaking in conversation.
Probably. But also, by the time, we've talked about this before, I had a very different growing up than, Kitty's talking about Camp Columbus and all that. I never went to Camp Columbus. I never had the fried chicken. Mom did not make a big breakfast. We had a bowl of cereal. Mom had a car by the time I was a teenager. So it was a much different growing up experience than Mom and Dad were much more relaxed by the time they were
And you got everything you
raising
wanted.
me.
You and Julie.
Yes, I got everything I wanted. So it was very different growing up experience than, it was like having a big family with the benefits of it, and I didn't have to do any of the parts. She didn't have to live. I was in the 6th grade when Tom went to college. So from the 6th grade on, I was
An
at
only
home by
child.
It was
myself.
all about
Dave
you.
left the house when I was 2. So I don't ever remember Dave living at home, except in the summertime, when he worked construction and would come in and eat everything in It's bad.
An arm of toast.
An arm of toast. Come in and fix toast until it's stacked up on his whole arm, and then he would eat it off of his arm.
Can't dirty up a plate.
No.
He'd have to wash it.
Mark?
Yes.
I like this one. I don't know who put this one in here. Approximately how many ice runs have you completed during And what advice would you give to future outlaws in trying to escape?
I want to say he did one this morning. At 7.
Before dawn.
It was still dark.
So that gives you a hint.
I like to do a run each year. Now, I like to go by myself, but always one or two other people want to join me for an hour or two of looking for ice to bring it back to the house so we can fix a drink.
And not just ice, garbage.
Wood.
All right, that concludes our first segment of Meet the Siblings and their spouses. So, Davis, you can cut it. Good. Welcome back. This is a submitted question that I'm very interested in from a cousin of mine, who I don't know who it was. What was the family meeting and what was discussed?
I'll talk about this because BPA,
Shocking.
after our lovely big Sunday breakfast, when we didn't go to Camp Columbus, he would go, well, there are a few things that I thought we could discuss. For example, when you spit in the bathroom sink, make sure you wash everything down before you leave the bathroom.
Don't put things in front of the heater.
Don't put things, especially your rear end, in front of the heater.
Because we had wall heaters.
Yeah, we had wall
The
heaters.
trash cans.
Trash cans.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
Don't
make
catch
sure
that.
that when you put something in the trash can, it actually goes in the trash can.
That was
And that you put the lid on the trash can completely.
I meant like in the
Inside,
bathroom.
yeah.
In the,
Oh,
you know,
Yeah.
all that.
What are some other?
And
We didn't have family
you-
meetings.
Because she was perfect.
It wouldn't have been 3 of them.
soap, a bar of soap until it gets about this big.
See?
And then you don't throw it in the trash can, you wrap it up first in toilet paper and then put it in the trash can.
Right.
And what about acrimony?
Oh, no,
I've forgotten
acrimony.
that word.
No acrimony.
I did
He
know
would
that.
say, it's come to my attention, Anne and Tommy, that there's been some acrimony between you. I believe you two were fighting and your brother pushed you against the wall
The wall
here, and you burned your whole arm. Remember that?
I do remember the acrimony.
I was getting ready to say, didn't somebody burn themselves?
Did any of
on the wall?
those family meeting habits stick with you?
Yes, all of them.
Don't park on the grass.
Oh. Well, ask Terry about that.
Not even a
Terry,
blade.
Don't park on the grass.
if your date parked on the grass,
Whoa.
then B-Paw greeted him and told him
To move.
not park on the grass.
Unless your name is Jad.
Chad,
Okay, Chad was the only one who knows.
What he meant by that, it wasn't that they pulled into the yard. You parked parallel in
There
front of
wasn't
the
a curb.
house.
And there was no curb.
And there wasn't a curb, and there was an area about as wide as your tire that you could pull into. So sometimes people would pull over,
Little too
and
far.
they would, then when they paralleled there, their tire would end up on the grass. But I remember in these meetings too, you know, like Steve had been, one I remember for sure is Steve had been on a date, and he took his date to Shoney's.
Woo!
And he turned left out of Shoney's
Oh,
and got a ticket.
Because you're camping.
And so I don't know why you were so stupid to announce this before the meeting. I think he actually told him while we were sitting. So Ann and I had to sit through. He'd get out a napkin and a pen, and you'd have to recreate the scene. And you could just see the steam coming out. And
Wait, that's not clear.
yeah, that doesn't make any sense to me. I
don't think you're remembering right. He did that to me. I came home at Thanksgiving of my freshman year, and I was driving down to Murray's, and I had on my letter jacket, and so I was trying to shuck it off before I got to Murray's. You wouldn't want to walk in there in your Notre Dame letter jacket.
When you're in college.
Well, no, it's just
drinking age.
Your drinking age.
Oh.
And so
So Murray's is
I
a
ran
bar.
into a telephone pole. I lost control of the car and ran into a telephone pole.
Oh, Murray's is a bar then?
Yeah, Murray's
You
was a
haven't been
bar.
drinking, had you?
I had not been
So
drinking.
you wrecked before you were drinking?
Yes, I
You
did.
were nervous?
Thank God.
Yeah. And so the next morning I had to get out. He got out the
Yeah.
napkin and he kept saying, "That doesn't make any sense to me." Finally I just said, I don't know what to tell you.
Can't help you.
Doesn't make sense to me.
Then one time we're sitting there and just we're wrapping up. It was actually a dinner, and we hear a crash.
Oh, yes.
And we had a 2-car pileup in the driveway.
The second car being Grandma's.
Grandma's, they used to borrow Grandma's car when they each had a date or something. And so we had this 2-car pileup. That was awesome, wasn't it?
A fun night
It was easy to diagram.
Well, who was driving which car?
He backed into.
I don't remember who was driving, who backed into who, but it was Steve and I.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
But let me tell you, they weren't distracted by the radio because neither car, this is true,
Yeah.
neither car had a radio.
That's right.
Had a working radio.
No.
Well, no,
Grandma's didn't even have a radio.
Grandma's
That's right,
didn't have
yeah.
side view mirrors.
she had nothing.
Those cost a quarter more, so.
Yeah.
All right, we're off point.
Who shares the most traits with Nana or Beepaw?
No, that's it.
Physical or
Any
personality?
traits, personality, physical.
Well, this is B-Paw right over here. These
two.
two look just like B-Paw.
I'd be proud to be like people.
Yeah, I would too.
I think it's what we all want to be, like our parents do, set such good examples for us.
How old were you when you figured that out?
Oh, it's about a year
Last
ago,
year.
wasn't it?
Who said that?
So we still have time, Julie.
Yeah, we've got
You know, I think really when you don't realize how much your parents mean to you until you miss them.
And
I mean, you do, but
It's different.
it's just different.
you expect it when you're young, and you don't really appreciate it.
Yeah. And you, in your mind, you think they're always gonna be there until they're not.
And they can do it all. Yeah, and they can do everything.
What did the Coulter family do for fun?
Badminton,
Yeah.
croquet.
croquet. Yeah, I remember that.
Badminton, croquet.
Steve mowed the grass.
Yeah, he mowed.
He mowed a badminton court, so
Yeah.
he raised the mower to make the boundaries.
Yep,
Yep.
I remember that.
You did.
And we had played outside after dark and caught lightning bugs in jars. The next morning, Nana had pickle jars and punch holes in them, and the next morning they'd all be dead.
It was a blast.
You can't forget all of the nights that we marched to the tune of 76
Six
trombones.
trombones.
You know, this is off subject a little bit, but I'd like for the grandchildren to know that you think of that era, the World War II era, and definitely things were different. And you had all these men that came back from the war, and these guys, I would say, were tough. You know, tough.
They slogged across
if you
Europe.
met some man and you didn't look him in the eye and shake his
Yeah.
hand,
Yeah.
they'd practically, you know,
Pummel you.
yeah. But I do want to say I'd love to take everyone back in time to like, they had fun,
Yeah, fun.
okay?
Yeah.
I'd
And
love
cheap
to take
fun.
people back in time to like our living room.
Yeah.
And you'd see, you know, I mean, it'd be a weird scene because they're basically having a party, but the men are wearing ties
Uh-huh.
and coats,
And the women are wearing
and-
heels.
and the women are dressed up. And you'd have Aunt Wheezy playing the piano,
Yeah.
and then you'd have them marching through the front yard to 76.
Over the
trombones.
beds.
Over the bed. I mean,
Attention, please.
I think there's a misconception that, you know, the men were gruff and not any fun, and the women were prim and proper. But really, they had fun.
They worked
Yeah.
hard and
They
they
worked
played,
hard.
and
They played hard. Most of them didn't have any money.
Right.
And they had bigger families. Most of the women didn't work, so money was tighter. But really, they did have fun and they enjoyed themselves. And I think that's something that gets lost
I do too, yeah.
in
And they had so many couple friends, even they kept to their old age.
Yeah.
You know.
yeah. So it was a different time, but it wasn't it wasn't a military type atmosphere.
Right.
They were just different.
The other
Yeah.
thing I think is worth noting is that they, so many people today, no fault of any, but it's just how it's different. Your children's activities and stuff take the adult parents' attention and time and resources, and we didn't have any of that. You didn't. There were no children's activities. I mean,
Well, we'd
you
go
did it at
outside and
school.
play.
Right.
Yeah.
You did,
Oh, yeah.
but there
In
was
the
no, what I
neighborhood.
mean is there's no driving you to wherever
Right.
to get to this practice or that. It was just, you're out in the neighborhood and you're
Yeah.
having
Play
fun, and
softball.
your parents are gonna socialize with the other parents.
The other
Their
neighbors.
friends and their neighbors. And it was more,
Kids,
Family
drawn together in
kids
that way.
organize their own stuff
Right.
in the
And
back.
we did our own stuff.
We, Tom and I, and Joe McMahon, always built forts in the
Oh,
woods.
yeah.
I think that the experience of the war and having been through it, it made them appreciate things in a way we maybe don't. Nana told me one time that after Pearl Harbor, which was a Sunday, the next day, I remember when Jane Martin died, and I was at the funeral, and one of her daughters, I just said something about how many awesome memories I had of our parents, and she said, and you know, they gave us each other. I'm sorry, I'm the first one, but they gave us, so we have these friends of our parents' friends. I mean, I don't call her every day, but she knows me, I know her. You know that if you needed something,
It's a connection.
It's an incredibly deep connection, yeah.
So how'd you try to do that with your families? How did you guys all try to?
We didn't.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Times change.
Times change,
Times
but do you
change.
feel like taking the things that you saw, the fun, the friendships, the that kind of thing, and trying to apply that to raising your kids and
Well, it makes
It's
you,
just different.
it's
It's
just
just
very
different.
different, but I do think it shaped, for me anyway, the way and what I was looking for in raising our own family.
Exactly.
And I didn't, we did not, and I think it's different now just since we've been raising children from when we started till now, that we did not prescribe to the all hail to everything my child wants to do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
I think, don't you think it's because of the example that we grew up with?
Yeah,
You
that's
know,
what I'm saying. It shaped how we.
Exactly. How we formed our own
Yeah,
families.
yeah.
You know, and what we look for in what we perpetrated in our own family.
And
What
what
we
we
look for in a
value.
spouse, yeah.
Right.
So you don't try to copy it, you just learn from it
Yes.
and
It
adapt
forms
it.
you.
That's right. Because every generation is different.
You want to do things like your parents do, and then you want to do things like differently than
Listen,
how they
a
did
lot of
too.
what they did was crazy.
Yeah.
No, it was.
Yeah.
I mean,
What do you mean?
For example,
well, I hate to say it's crazy, but it's not what,
The way
like
you
if
did
I
it.
came home and I said, my teacher, this or that,
Oh, yeah.
my father would say, son, your teacher is your teacher. And,
That's right.
you're gonna have to learn how to deal with that.
That's right.
And,
That was a good life lesson, I think.
But it's just, if Will came home and had a problem with his teacher, then, I wouldn't be so ironing. I mean, Daddy was just like, hey, your teacher's your teacher.
Your problem.
See, and what it comes from, Julie, is they were all in the military. They were taught chain of command. And if this was your boss, if this was your commander, you did what they told you to do.
Whether you liked
didn't
it or
matter
not.
Right or
whether
wrong.
you liked it
Yeah.
or not, right or wrong. So they, and in a lot of ways, it's probably better that they taught us that, because we didn't waste any energy on it.
Yeah.
I think it's unfortunate today that a lot of parents want to fix everything
Yeah.
for their kids
Yeah.
instead of saying to Will when he comes home and has a
Yeah.
problem with his teacher, trying to help him kind
Yeah.
of deal with that, rather than rushing in and saying,
Yeah.
I'm gonna fix it.
So,
That doesn't teach Will anything.
yeah. So Dad told me one time, and I wrote this down, he said, yeah, you don't try to prepare the path for your children. You try to show them the path. And they need to do
Amen, that's good advice right there.
and so too many people try to make everything perfect for little Johnny or Julie or whoever. And their attitude, and it's definitely a war thing, was more, authority was,
It was authority.
And
And
there
they
was
didn't-
respect. I don't think there was
Yeah.
respect.
but there's a downside to that, and the downside is that a lot of times we were in a safe environment, but children that weren't in a safe environment would get taken advantage of, and the parents unknowingly,
Right.
whatever you want
Right.
to say, send their boys on a Boy Scout trip, and there was an incident. In our day, I think they would have said, oh, it's just different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying it's categorically better. It's just different.
well, there's values from each.
Yes, yes. There's a balance, it's both and, not one of them.
One thing that we all enjoy year in and year out are all the holidays that come up through the calendar year. How did y'all celebrate those? If at all.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
We celebrated everything.
What were the most memorable kind of holidays of the household, and what was part of that?
Well, Christmas for sure.
Yeah,
That was
Christmas.
Nana's favorite.
Yeah.
I remember, how many times did she say Christmas is my favorite?
Now, she loved
Mother's
Christmas.
birthday was
Her birthday was December 18th.
And it was a month long.
Yeah, no, it wasn't always.
What year?
2022. But she could.
2022?
You know, she never allowed us to put up any decorations until her birthday. And so
really?
on
I
her
didn't know that.
birthday, we would have a wonderful, wonderful evening of bringing in a tree, and she and Daddy would discuss how straight it was
Or not.
and how to tie it to the wall. They put string around it.
It was awful.
It was.
It's what got me going.
In that Christmas mood.
Oh, it was awful.
Mark has
The
a
best
story
thing
about
I
that.
did is after tying that damn tree up once, I went out and got him a tree stand where you didn't have to tie it.
Oh, yeah. They had a tree stand that came over from the Titanic.
That big, the leg, the spread on it.
And
was
it
about-
wouldn't hold the tree.
That's why we had to tie it to the wall.
But why buy a new tree stand when you only use it once a year?
I want to use this opportunity. This is an instance where the pain of that childhood for Tom. We have a tree. The Tom and Mindy Coulters have a tree stand that weighs about 60 pounds. It's made out of all metal. It's about 6 feet in diameter. This thing, it'll hold up anything.
And that's one of probably 6 or 8 tree stands we've had.
And you're not tying your tree to the wall.
Hell no.
But we would, on Christmas morning, we would
What you need?
Cough drop.
Right there.
we would get up and we had to go to mass before we could see what Santa.
Oh, but we snuck it in before.
Well, he was sleeping in the laundry room.
I had to get up and wake the dog.
When was the last time everyone was at 720 for Christmas? If ever.
Oh, that's a tough one.
Well,
I was little.
The last year that Mother lived at, 2000.
Yeah, but we weren't there.
But we didn't go for Christmas.
Not everybody was there.
No.
Oh, I don't know.
I mean, it's been,
What about?
There was a Christmas when I was little,
Yeah.
and Ann and Tom were in college.
And we all had a baby.
And everybody had a
Yeah,
baby.
Katie
and they all
and
came.
Kelly and Jason,
And-
all born the same year.
Everyone was, that, you know,
That was so fun.
it really wasn't that much fun.
I don't think it ever happened
They can say it was fun, but it was a
I'm never having any kids.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Let me
Tom
put it this
saying-
way, I remember when we got married, I remember alternating Christmas and
Yes.
Thanksgiving. And I never remember all the Coulters at
No,
Christmas.
no.
I remember all the Coulters at Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
A couple of times, and I repeated the stories about that to mine and said, I don't know how Nana did it. My memories of her, I guess it was after having 3, and I guess it was after that Christmas with all the babies.
Yeah.
She figured it out because whenever I was there, it's like everybody had a job,
Yeah.
everybody had a dish, and she pretty much had a drink.
Well, actually, there
And
was,
I can remember thinking many times in the past years, how did she do that? That's why I really want to be like
there
that.
was one Christmas when Patty's mom and dad
Yes.
came to
Yeah.
720.
Yeah.
And I don't
I
remember
remember
when
that.
it was.
They
but
never came back, I don't think.
I'm telling you, it wasn't that good.
The Joyces used to stop at our house every Christmas Eve and have a drink with Mother and Daddy on their way to Atlanta.
To see
Yeah,
y'all.
that's,
Ah.
that's where the Christmas.
But they did spend the night there one time.
Yeah, yeah,
Well,
they
that might have
spent
been
Christmas morning.
Thanksgiving, because that was the year that Amy said, Mama, can I have the apple pie off the ham? My mother brought a ham.
Oh,
But I gotta say this one thing. At Christmas, I remember, as everybody, this is the last one I remember, everybody was there, we had our babies there, and I remember Dave sitting on the floor, and he said, B-Paul was leaning back in his chair, and Dave was reading, he said, put A in B. B-Paul sat up in the chair, and he went, I'm going to bed.
oh, he was starting to put something together, yeah. Put A in B.
That was the funniest thing.
So
that's good.
in relation to the holidays, a common question that people wanted to hear about was Nana and Beepaw's Catholic faith. So, if anyone wants to jump in there, talk about Easter or Christmas or how their day-to-day or their Catholic faith and how it kind of formed you all.
So the sisters and I have just been talking about our mother, Nana, and how every day she would go back, and I can confess this because I don't have it with me, but I have the rosary that B-Paul gave her for a wedding
Yeah,
gift.
she snuck it out.
I snuck it. But she would take that, she would go back and have a power nap, and she would say the rosary every day.
Didn't she take y'all back there to say the rosary with her?
No.
We used to say the rosary as a family. I remember
Oh,
that.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, I
Yeah,
really didn't.
I remember
When would y'all say the rosary as a family?
At night.
We never did.
After
We
supper.
did. Not every night.
But the oldest three remember,
Yeah.
because, I mean, we used to
We were
kneel before that wood cabinet.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
There was
Yeah,
a
it was
statue of
during
the
Lent,
Blessed
wasn't it?
Mother. Yeah,
Yeah.
it wasn't just.
Listen, Mary and I, we just said, we're not putting up with it.
Well, there at that
Oh, yeah.
cabinet, on that wooden cabinet, Mother would fix a May altar.
Yeah.
She had that statue
Yeah.
of Mary, and she'd always put flowers out. And that was always there the month of May.
But
But-
their Catholic faith was really lived every day because Mother went to Mass daily.
Every day.
Most
Daddy
women.
always went on Sunday. We always all went together. And
They made sure we went to confession.
we went to confession on Saturdays.
And-
And had to wait in line to go to
Yeah.
confession every
And
Saturday.
when the babies were born, okay, then we didn't have a big baptism party. The first Sunday that the baby was home, that Nana and the baby were home, Nana stayed home, and B-Paul and the rest of us would go over and have that baby baptized. First thing, get the baby baptized. And I don't know, we waited the longest for you. Can't remember if Mother was there or
Oh,
not.
well, that's when she stayed in the hospital.
That was just
for a week.
exceptional.
Yeah, in the interview,
Came home
Nana and Beepal, she said that she stayed in the hospital for a
long as she
full
could.
week.
A full week.
Oh,
They
yeah,
came
that was-
home in
You don't
an
want-
ambulance.
You don't want your organs to fall
You
out,
don't
is what
want-
she said.
And they didn't.
That was her story.
Yeah.
She was sticking to it.
But just so everybody knows,
Yeah.
B-Paul was a convert, and I wish I had asked these questions, so it's good to ask these questions. But Nana was a Catholic. They got married at St. Peter and Paul, and in those days, if you married a non-Catholic, you could not come up into the sanctuary to be married.
Really?
So the Monsignor Sullivan maybe, because Grandma and Grandpa were such devout members of St. Peter and Paul, he got a dispensation to have them come up into the sanctuary. Now, the person that told me this was my daddy. So he was so honored that he had been allowed to come up into the sanctuary. He was really just such a humble man, you know. And then he went, as we know, they were in Walla Walla, and after the war, he was in Germany, but Nana and Dave were home living with Grandma and Grandpa, and he converted. And I'm thinking,
In Germany?
yes.
Yes.
And I thought, what? Who was this priest? I asked Nana, and she said, I don't know. I want to know this.
But the other thing, Mother, I remember she would have the nuns that were at OPH over
Oh,
for
yeah.
meals, and she sewed for them also. She sewed their dresses and taught some of them how to sew. But it was just our life.
Yeah,
I mean, it was, it revolved around parish life.
Yeah.
It was very much in the fabric of every day.
Yeah.
So.
I feel like a lot of people today kind of have their work friends, their old friends, their
Yeah.
church friends, but for y'all, your neighborhood friends, for y'all, it was just one big bucket.
Right.
was.
It was.
Yeah, you're right.
There was the people Daddy worked with, which I saw a lot more of than you guys did.
Those were the
Because
junior
I got
days.
to go on
And the
trips.
conventions.
I got to go on conventions.
I never went on a convention, ever.
So
You had to go to
I met all the paper people.
You were too busy
also.
going to Camp Columbus. kid.
Yeah,
And meeting Terry.
yeah.
But yeah, everybody else was all together.
It was amazing. It was the Wonder Years. If you,
Yeah, it was. It
wasn't
was
that
the one
good.
year.
Now that you can look back and see it.
Well, we're about to disperse. I
Can
have
we
a couple.
keep going?
I have a couple.
Oh, please.
I'm going to leave it open. Does anyone have anything they want to throw in there before I move on to another section?
I do.
okay.
All right.
Hold on, let me.
You know, and this is more for the benefit of the grandchildren. Everyone remembers Nana more than Beepaw. Okay, Beepaw died in 1995.
95,
Okay,
26 years ago.
26 years ago. This year he would be 100
100.
years old in just a few days.
Right.
Yep.
And so even people like Julie and Chris, you might remember him maybe, but
Definitely.
not. I want to
My
say
kids don't.
I want to
Well,
say
Jared do it, that's all.
who he was. Okay, and even today, I'm glad people talked about Beepaw, but even I notice people talk more about Nana. I mean, they do. And I think it's because, you know, she was here longer, and he died such a long time ago. But I'm glad Steve mentioned about Walla Walla. And he was a captain in the Air Force, which I don't know what that means, but I always thought it sounded impressive. And, you know, he was and excuse me for this, but I just want to say this. You kind of have to understand where he came from. And I'm not going to get into the genealogy part of it, but basically his immediate ancestors were farmers in Alabama. They came to Chattanooga to work in the factories, and they ended up, all of them, a lot of them, working as firemen. And Dad was very intelligent, very well spoken. If you, as a child, used improper grammar,
Yep.
he would correct you immediately. Now, some of that, I've always thought, is because he had this, for lack of a better word, kind of uneducated background. You know, his parent, he didn't graduate from college. I don't think his parents valued education. And they wanted him to be a fireman, you know. And so, a very smart guy, he carried a slide rule that he calculated the cost of he sold envelopes. Does anyone sell envelopes now? No.
It's
You
not
order
envelopes, it's envelopes.
envelopes, yeah. And so he had this little slide rule that he would figure out the cost of the product
Can you believe that?
from rolls of paper. And I don't even know how you use one. I picked one up a couple of years ago and I couldn't figure it out. But I want everyone to know what a smart guy he was. And so, and how well spoken he was.
Yeah, he was.
And I think all, particularly the in-laws would say how polite he was. A very well-spoken, polite guy.
Just a real gentleman.
A gentleman.
A
Real
gentleman.
gentleman.
And
Yes.
this is a dude that wore a coat and tie to football games. I mean, very well dressed. And I can see him now in his tie, wearing his coat, having a drink
And a cigarette.
and a cigarette. He smoked Salem's. And springtime, it happens every Salem. That was the line. And one of my friends told me one time, he said, your dad's like a really debonair kind of guy. I mean, he's so well dressed and, you know, he's got that cigarette and he's so well spoken. You'd never really think, you know, that he wasn't
Where he came from.
where he came from. He definitely brought himself up from the bottom, you know. And where his mother had more of an educated family, his family was not.
Right.
And when we were growing up, we didn't have a lot of contact with his family.
Christmas Eve.
Once
Except
a
for
year.
Christmas.
Once a year.
Christmas Eve, yeah.
Christmas Eve. And I don't know the story behind that. I don't know anything about it. But I think some of it was that, you know, they thought it was crazy that why would someone want to grow up and if they could be a fireman, not be a fireman? You know, I mean, I think that was kind of crazy.
Too big for your britches even,
Or maybe, I don't know. It doesn't really matter. But and he, I'm surprised this hadn't come up, but he fell asleep every night in his chair watching TV. We had one TV, no remote control. So us kids would wait until he went to sleep so we could turn the channel and he'd still be sitting there, you know. But I guess he had what would be described now as post-traumatic syndrome or something like that, because he would have these awful dreams.
Yeah.
We'd be sitting there watching TV and he'd be in the background
Cussing.
and he would say, you goddamn bastard, you know, all this.
Get away from me.
Get away from me. And so we'd ask Mother, what's going on? And she's like, oh, he's just, she would always just say, oh, he's dreaming about the war, don't worry about it. That's what she said. And it was kind of part of the life that he would have these incidents. And so,
But they never really addressed those things.
No.
If somebody had a problem, it was internalized
yeah.
and it wasn't dealt.
Yeah.
It was just buried.
Well, it's more like one time Mother said, well, I'm just glad he didn't die like everybody, you know, like all the other. I mean, it was more that, you know. But I want the grandchildren to know that he, while he was maybe a formal guy, he wasn't a gruff guy. Wasn't gruff at all. One of my kids one time asked me, he said, well, I guess your dad was kind of, you know, grumpy guy. No, he was very charming, I would say.
But he was a disciplinarian.
He was proper.
Well,
He was proper, maybe is a better word.
And
And
strict.
positive. I think, you know, while he could be strict, he did not do it in a gruff way.
Okay. I think he did go to Munich,
Yeah.
and he told me, that's what he told me.
Really?
Destroyed it?
Now, not him,
The war.
He was-
they just-
the Allies just flattened it completely, he told me. And he and Mother went to Munich later to kind of look at it.
And they found that scene in that picture that
Queeve Cop had painted.
yeah.
Who has that?
Shanna.
Also, I wanted to kind of, I think this is interesting. He wasn't a big vacation guy, I would say. Now, he traveled and he was gone out selling envelopes generally. For my childhood, he was gone every Tuesday and Wednesday night, and sometimes on Monday.
And came home Thursday.
Came home Thursday. He and Mother
Went
went
out
out
to
to dinner on Thursday. That was, you know, that was the
And we
pattern.
had left over something over noodles.
Well, that was on Wednesday.
No, it
Or
was on
fish
Thursday when they went out to dinner.
I know,
That's right,
but we had.
Yeah, we had that.
Because she went to the grocery store on Thursday.
That's right.
Yeah. Now, so the dude spent his vacation painting the house.
Every year.
That's what he did. Every year he'd paint that house. And
Well, how about changing out
we,
the windows?
we thought, yeah, but he worked around the house a lot, but we all thought it was just normal, you know, because, and I think looking back on it, he had no desire like to go somewhere because he was gone Tuesday,
All the time.
Tuesday,
Yeah.
Wednesday, Thursday, and so he like just
He's also
staying.
already been around the world.
Yeah.
But now, we did on occasion
We went to the
go
beach.
to the beach for a week.
Because Mary had to sit on the
Well, they left. They left
I
me.
said
with-
Steve's last
That-
year.
Actually, I held Mary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ann packed for it, but she forgot her underwear, so.
Yeah. That was a good moment in my life.
That's when Dad tried to burn up his billfold. When we go
Oh,
to
yeah,
the
he put it in
beach,
the oven.
he put his billfold down in the broiler of the oven to hide it from all the
Garglers.
thieves. And so we would come in to cook supper,
Turn it on.
and we turn it on and have cooked wallet for dinner. Of course, it also had all their cash in it.
So, just to kind of get back to the unfortunate Salem thing, Dad told me that when he joined the Army, they gave him provisions, and they said, if you get hungry, here's your Hershey bar. If you get nervous, here's your cigarettes. And that's really how his generation got hooked on freaking cigarettes.
Yeah.
A lot.
They gave him
They gave them
cigarette-
to him.
They gave them to him in little 4-packs, little teeny tiny little cartons. They had 4 cigarettes in them.
Yeah.
But he told me he started smoking.
He quit smoking at age 65. He quit on his 65th birthday. He died when he was 73. And is the battery charging?
I would like to say one attribute about Daddy, and you can come back. Our cousin Janet, who was Daddy's sister Madge's daughter, we had talked about this. When you were talking to him, you were the only one there. He gave his total, complete attention to you. And I've had people that knew Daddy, like children of friends of theirs and others that have said this to me as well, that said, your daddy just made me feel like I was the only person there. And I guess, thank God, we didn't have cell phones back then. But
Yeah.
anyway.
So, on his 65th birthday, Mindy and I gave him a present, which was a quit smoking weekend up near Cobley Knoll at
Steiner Bell.
And so I didn't know when I gave it to him if he would go or not. But he agreed to go, and Mother went, and he quit.
He never smoked again.
Never.
It was brutal to watch.
Yeah. He carried around a little rock,
A light wit.
A little whack.
a pebble,
White paint said
I, period, Q, period. And so,
You want me to read it? We were so proud of him quitting after 40 years. When asked why he waited so long to quit, Dad quipped, "No one ever asked me to stop."
oh,
And thank goodness you did.
Thank goodness.
I wish we'd given it to him on his 40th.
We didn't know.
That's right.
We didn't know. Dad would do anything for his family with no hesitation. He often said, anything done gladly is no problem at all.
That's right.
Hold on.
That was right after
Yeah.
went to
Yeah,
that
that
weekend.
was.
That
No.
was
No.
that not the
This
pneumonia?
was,
That's the Black Watch.
right before
That
he
was-
died.
Yes.
Oh.
This
I
was-
bought us matching
Yeah.
outfits.
This was this the lovely day that he wouldn't go to the emergency room?
No, I don't know. Did you get it?
Okay,
But,
can
but I
oh,
bought
see.
us matching
I
outfits.
remember.
You done, Chris?
There, no.
I'm sitting here with Mary and Mark Voges. We're at the sibling weekend in 2021, and I think they had a few things they wanted to share.
All right, I just want to say how happy I am to be here and that I love getting together with my siblings each year and maintaining that relationship. And I hope that my children will do the same thing.
I am glad that I'm here with the family. The in-laws are the best.
What's so good about the in-laws? They let you go on ice runs?
They do. I do the ice runs and the garbage runs around here. But, you know, everyone claims it's mine, but every time someone wants to go with me. So it's not just me wanting to escape for a little while. It's other people too.
Now, did you start doing ice runs right when you met Mary?
No.
So would you come over to 720 and get there and say, you know what, we need some ice
We
here.
need some ice. Every once in a while, Beepaw would send me on a beer run to get more beer when we had a big dinner there because, of course, the Coulters drink a lot of beer.
Did Beepaw drink beer?
No.
I
He
don't
was
think he
buying
did.
it for his children.
What would Beepaw
And their
drink?
Jack Daniels.
Jack Daniels.
Jack Daniels. That's why Nana drank Jack
Jack
Daniels.
Daniels. With a splash of water and some ice.
Only a splash.
A splash.
So, when you first came to the house, and Mary introduced you to, I'm guessing, just Nana and Beepaw. What was that like?
It was good. They were very happy that I was Catholic. And they saw a young lad that was going to be able to help them plant plants and get the yard ready for Ann and Jeff's wedding.
Which is what you did.
Is what I did. And she took full advantage of that, of our relationship. She got more bushes planted and more grass cut and more everything.
And more things out of the attic that was 120 degrees.
Oh, she would send me up in the attic in the middle of the afternoon when it was as hot as it could be. And she couldn't understand why I'd go up dry and come back wet.
Now, is there a story with y'all's engagement?
Yes. When it was time for me to ask Mary if she would marry me.
Did someone tell you it was time?
Of course they did. Mary told me it was time. So I went and talked to Betty and Glenn before I asked, and Glenn asked, does Mary know you're here? And I said, no, she does not. So he knew that this was kind of special.
He'd been through this before, I think.
He had, and let me tell you, me being Catholic, coming right off the marriage of the
Ann
and Jeff being non-Catholic, they were excited. Good Catholic boy that had no idea what I was really like, but Catholic was good. And so Mary came home for Thanksgiving that weekend on a Thursday evening, and it was time for me to propose. So we went into her bedroom, and I closed the bedroom door.
Oh, no.
And Mary's eyes got about this big. And she goes, you can't do that. I said, honey, it will be okay. I promise you. And so I get down on my knee to propose to her, and who should barge through but Dave with 2 suitcases, barging through her bedroom to go to the back bedroom to drop off his stuff. And he just looked down and said, excuse me.
So his bedroom you had to go through your bedroom.
My bedroom was in the middle of the house, and so you went through my bedroom to get to the back bedrooms.
Unless the door was shut, you could go around because Mary could be in there
But
dressing.
he didn't.
But
He didn't.
He did.
He just busted in.
So,
But it was a good celebration after that.
And where did y'all get married?
We got married at OLPH in 1984. August 25th of 1984. And it was a great day. It was a great day.
So you had the benefit of being in the same city, I guess different mailing city, but same area as Nana and Beepaw growing up. What were some of the memories you hold from that?
So, well, when Brian was born, and I wasn't working anymore, I decided to stay home with him. I would go to 720 with Brian at least once a week, and Mom would keep Brian while I went to the grocery store. So, and for a while, when we were first married, before any children, we didn't have a washer and dryer, and we would do our laundry at Mom and Dad's.
We invited ourselves over on Sunday evening so they
For
could
dinner.
feed us too.
For that fried chicken?
Yeah. But Mom kept Brian and Stuart too quite a bit when they were little, and so that was a benefit of being local. So that was fun, and they kept him a couple times when we went out of town.
So your kids, my cousins, they probably got to have the most experiences with Nana when she was in her sweet elder years and in Alexian. And
Yes, we always went to visit when she was, so then after she left 720, then we would go up once a week at least, and whoever was around I would take with me. And we would go sit on her porch and have pimento cheese and
talk about the hummingbirds
and look at the birds. Yes, and she would love to show us off to her neighbors and friends. So yeah, I know they have a lot of memories of that. Brian and Stuart have memories of Daddy too, I think. But Laura was only 18 months when Daddy died, so Rachel and Beth never got to meet him, so, unfortunately.
One of the things that I've heard a lot in sitting through y'all's sibling weekend and crashing the party is all the values and love and family that was bestowed upon you all as a cohort of Coulters. What do you hope can kind of keep going to your children and their children, and I don't know how far that rabbit hole goes.
I think that you know, Daddy's wish when we started having yearly reunions, he just thought it was so important that everybody come, and he made it he made us make it a priority. And I don't mean he was like this about it. We all knew that it was important to him. And in our younger years, that started when we were first married, when Mark and I were first married. And I didn't realize then how important that was in connecting all of us, all the cousins, all the siblings too, and spouses. And now here we are, however many years later, 37 years later, and we're still doing that. And I think I can see now the benefits of that and how that's drawn us closer together. And I want that for our own kids also.
Hey, William.
Stay close.
Stay close. All right. Chris has something to add, I think.
Now, just what's your password? You gotta erase that, man. You gotta start, whatever's happening, start it over. If y'all were in the middle of some story, I'm sorry. What's your password, dude?
1 2 1 2.
1 2 1 2.
No, you're not lying.
Chris has been in the background of every video. No matter where I try to go, his voice finds the camera.
He has a distinct voice.
He has a distinct voice. So,
What would you like to add to that?
yeah.
I would just hope that our grandchildren are athletic. At least not fall down like the Coulters do.
I have been wanting to ask about the injury stories for the family, but we didn't have enough. 2 hours apparently. We still didn't have enough time to get to that. But
Well, now that I would say that the Voges gene pool on that is much stronger than the Coulter gene pool, and we have produced some athletic children.
unfortunately, they'll never relate it to Coulter because it's Vogue. So we appreciate your strong genes, Mark.
Well, thank you. I'm glad I could contribute.
All right.
Hi.
And as B. Paul would do, does anyone have anything else?
I don't think so.
I'm good.
We love you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
All right, we are here with Tom and Mindy, and it is, do we do the date today? The 22nd in 2021 of October. And I think the first question is, what has the weekend been like, or what do you anticipate it being like, spending it with your siblings, thinking about the family?
Oh, let me go with that one. I have looked forward to and enjoyed every family reunion since 1987. And I can always remember when it started because I had just had Meredith and Chris came to get me for dinner. And I was so hot I'd taken off my shirt and was breastfeeding, so sorry, Chris.
Don't remember.
Glad you don't remember. Probably didn't even notice. But it's always been something to look forward to, and just how much fun everybody has together. I think one of the biggest things is I grew up with a very close family and loving family, and in order, I didn't know this until later years when Mom was in the DAR, but I think our family motto was God, country, and family. I mean, that was just what was the most important, and the next most important, and the next most important.
Those were the 3 important things in life. And the family, importance of family in the Coulter family just always resonated. And
Do you think that's what drew you to Tom? Was it not just him, but his family?
No, he was just so cute. He was so cute, and it's a family tradition kind of joke about the. Well, my brother gave me, because my brother and Tom were friends, and so I had come down to see my brother at the fraternity house, and I had seen Tom. Well, I'd met him, and then I had come back a second time, and I saw him across a crowded room and caught his eye, and I was like, Tom, Mitch, give me a date with that cute Tom Coulter. So he had given me one Christmas the Rodgers and Hammerstein book, piano music, with the song Some Enchanted Evening, if you know that song.
No.
Some Enchanted Evening. But you will see him smiling across a crowded room. So anyway, it was love at first sight.
So for you coming into the Coulter family, was it you came from a big family as well? In fact, equally as big.
No, four children. There were 4 of us.
Okay, so you weren't overwhelmed by the family.
No, I wasn't.
What was it like to meet everybody for the first time? Were you welcomed in? When you left there, were you like, I'm not going back? Or did you love it?
I absolutely loved it. I absolutely loved every bit of it. When we were talking about BPO in there, I wanted to say this. I'll never, forever, ever, ever forget when, I don't remember if it was the first time that I came to visit in Chattanooga. I feel like it was when we got engaged. And I had come several times before that, so, and maybe I wasn't there for dinner and the whole evening. And this is why I think it was when we were engaged, because I remember him asking me if I would like a drink. And I was kind of taken back. Not that I had never had an alcoholic drink, but I was kind of like not in this, proper, what would you like to drink? And I'm thinking, well, let's see, what do I ask for? I'm trying to think what I've had, and none of those seemed to kind of fit the scenario where we were. And he came up with a suggestion, and a whiskey sour is what he made me. And I've always had, so that's just kind of a little thing, a special little drink.
He called it a libation.
Oh yeah, he made it so much
Would
fun.
you like a libation?
Yeah.
Tom, how did you know you wanted to bring Mindy home, and what did you plan out the first meeting, and were you nervous?
No.
No.
I wasn't nervous.
Not at all.
No, I didn't really plan.
Just brought her. What was it?
I think the first time I came to the house was the summer after we had been dating, and I was on the way to Florida, and I had left my ID with you because you had to have your ID everywhere you went, and I didn't want to purse. So I'd given him my driver's license basically, and I was riding with a friend to Florida, and they were from Johnson City or somewhere, Tri-Cities, and we went through Chattanooga. So they drove me to your house, and because I don't even remember, I just remember your daddy talking about it years later and saying something about me coming in with
So it wasn't like a formal setup
that I had on.
No,
it was
it
just a
wasn't.
visit.
We
And then
dated for 4 years.
Oh,
Yeah.
the whole time you were both in college?
Yeah, because we met
Before she came home?
We met my freshman year in college, Christmas, and I had a friend who was in college on semesters as well. So our calendars were off. So all of our friends in Johnson were at UT for a week after we got out, and same thing, they went back a week before we went to school. So both Christmas and then spring, we went down to UT. So I met him Christmas, had a date with him in the spring, and then we dated long distance my sophomore year, your junior year. And so I was 21 when we got married. 22 when you had turned. We were turning. Is that right? We were turning 21 and 22.
How old were you when you had John Michael?
Well, he was born in 85, and so I was 27. 57, is that right? Yeah.
So,
I was born in 57, and he was.
So what did you do for 6 years with no kiddos?
Oh, we had
a
fun.
good time.
They went to every restaurant.
Tell
and
us
motel.
about that.
We were waiting till we were ready for children, and we decided we're never going to be ready. But everybody was having them, so we
That
just
it
did it
wasn't
too.
a rational decision.
Yeah, we just did it too. In fact, we had been going to the beach every summer with some friends,
and we still went after we had kids. But that summer, that they both started their families and had a child, they didn't want to go to the beach for some reason. They didn't want to take the baby to the beach. And so that was when we went to Europe. Mike and Judy and Steve saw Steve and Patty and literally traveled the world a little bit. Started traveling, yeah. So we had a good time.
Your wedding is the first wedding I remember. It was Holiday Inn. The reception was at a Holiday Inn.
No, it was at the country club.
Okay.
Maybe
the pre.
Both the rehearsal dinner and reception were at the Holiday Inn. I mean the country club.
Oh, okay.
So you stayed at the Holiday Inn.
We were at I remember being at the Holiday Inn because the Greenwoods were there. That's the first time I met the Greenwoods. And you guys, I remember you being in your wedding gown.
Yeah.
And y'all were sitting on a couch. And I don't know why. That's the first wedding I remember is the two of y'all's.
Mindy, when did you convert to Catholicism?
When William was born.
When William was born.
So I always say I am a however old William is. You know, when he was in high school, I said I'm a teenage Catholic. You know, because that's how long I've been a Catholic.
Wow.
And why? Why did you choose then?
Well, we think it might go back to the Julies. These friends of ours from Nashville used to come up to Johnson City. Well, they lived at Johnson City, and they were good friends with us. They had a kid about our ages, you know, all of our ages. They had 5, though, Catholic family, and they moved to Nashville. And we kept in touch. Our families kept in touch, went on a few trips together. My sister and I would go down to Nashville, and the 2 girls would come up to Johnson City, and we'd just spend time together and stayed in touch. And we went to Mass with them. And that was the only time I ever went to Mass. And it's funny because they had a son Mitch's age and they had a daughter Mary Jo's age, and we all 3 married Catholics. And so we just kind of laugh about that. I don't know that has really anything to do with it, but it makes a good story.
I thought you were going to say my shining example.
Oh, well, yeah, that's really. Well, no, I think just it's something that interested me, and I'm a logical person, and just so many things about it. If you question something and you research it, you can't really disagree with what is really taught. And you might disagree with what you think is taught, but it just makes so much sense to me. Just it's logical and beautiful. So,
what advice do you two have for the next generation on being a big family, faith that you want to see, and traditions you want to see carried on?
Which generation? You're talking about our kids?
Your kids or grandkids?
Grandkids.
Future
Kids
generations.
and grandkids.
I'll let you talk.
I don't know. We try to, both Mindy and I try to be, and we don't always succeed, we try to be good examples. And, you know, we try to communicate with, I mean, I don't know how you communicate with a grandchild when they're 7, but we try to communicate with the children, the young adults. And I think for the most part, that's been successful. I mean, I'm not saying they do everything, you know, just the way we want.
A lot of times, especially younger, whatever you say, they're going to do the opposite. Sometimes you use reverse psychology. Don't do that. Okay, they will.
But I think, we both had big personalities, and I think that we expect a lot we have always expected a lot from the kids. I mean, a lot. And I don't think it's a burden. I think it's, you know, they've been given a lot, and I think that they need to respond. And so, particularly when they're in the formative years, I'm a big believer in expecting a lot from them. And, you know, because if you have low standards of their behavior,
they'll rise to meet them.
Yeah. So we've always tried to set big goals for them.
Do you think that comes from BPAW at all?
I don't
It's
know.
both. I just think it's a combination of our families and our experiences.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting. I have to say probably no. BPAW never said anything to me about, going to college or anything like that. So it's just it was just such a different time. Mindy and I both, we agree on this, I think. We didn't want to disappoint our parents. Both of us. We were, but I think that we probably, or at least I, expected a lot from them. And maybe almost to a fault.
Of the kids, you mean?
Of the kids.
You of your kids.
We
Me
both
Expected a lot.
expect still a lot from
A
the
lot.
kids.
I mean, you know, I look at it like, hey, you've been given so much.
There's a Bible verse about that.
You know,
To
you
whom much has
need
been given,
much is expected.
much is expected.
I mean, it's common sense.
And
You don't bury your talents. You,
yeah, so I think that was
They had a very high achieving grandmother too. My mother, well, my father did a lot, but my mother really, we found some letters from her in college, and she said, she'd written her parents and said, I can't believe I'm turning 17 next month, October 6th, and I have accomplished so little in my life. And she had just listed out all of her, you know, freshman year offices at Stevens College in Missouri, you know, where she'd gone and didn't know a single soul. And she just, you know.
so if you just, of all the things that you look back and all the different kids you've had and the grandkids you've had and the things that were taught you, if you distilled it down for the next generation of grandchildren in this case, what would be the most important thing that you think that you've either taught or you hope you've taught, or that you hope is passed on?
Well, I would say.
Is there one?
Not only echoing what we said about expecting a lot, but I would say, I guess there's different ways you could word it, but it all comes down to the same thing of care for your fellow man. You know, thinking of others first. Not all about you. It's not me, 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 me. It's how can you make the world a better place? What can you do to contribute? There's lots of ways you can say all of that, but I think that would be that's what I kind of grew up with, and that's what more than anything else I hope comes across with my children.
and I think our kids would tell you, I think, we were concession stand parents. We did a lot at their schools, not just at but we were active, and we did things, and we volunteered, and so we did that not because we enjoyed it, but just Mindy enjoyed it, but just trying to be a good example, trying to be in their life, trying to show them that. You know, for a long time, honestly, that's all we did.
You enjoyed it. You enjoyed the high school football stuff.
Yeah.
You enjoyed it.
I didn't enjoy a lot of things.
Part of things you liked.
But like going to, we made sure one of us was at every activity, no matter what it was. And that gets exhausting when you have 4 children. And you know that, Chris. And
Thought we died and gone to heaven when Meredith was on the dance team and Joe Michael was playing football. It was all at the same school.
All the same thing.
But even today, on Saturday morning, I go by Lake Shore, the intramural fields. I think I am so glad I'm not out there.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't miss it one bit. But I think we just got worn out by, trying to. We didn't question it. We just did it. But now that it's over.
Well, there's a season for everything, and there's other things that are important to do, and you want to do it all.
But I think that they would say we were good examples. I hope.
I think so. All right, y'all. Thank you.
Good job.
I'm sitting here with Ann and Jeff Schaefer. And I think that they have some words that they'd like to share. Maybe blaming other siblings for other things that happened in the past. But we're sitting here in the sibling reunion, and I want to give them a chance to say what's on their mind about the family.
Wow. Well, I believe we are so blessed to have the family that we do. There are, at present, 87 of us and counting. And I believe that Mother and Daddy began that bond that we all hold today. And I feel so blessed to have this large group of people that I know are with me at all times as I am with them. And I hope that our children and grandchildren will work to stay in touch with each other, because it takes a commitment and effort. And I want our children to share what we're sharing now in their elder years. So I love you all.
I think we should ask each other some questions.
Whoa.
How about that? Like, I'll start and I'll say, tell me the best and worst thing about being married to me.
The best thing is that you are very loving.
Yes.
And you take good care of me.
I do.
And you love your children
I do.
and your grandchildren.
I do.
So much.
And one more so. Yes.
So.
Yes.
And probably the most difficult
thing yes, let's focus
about
on that.
being married to you said the best
Yes,
and
please. No, let's
would be
let's have that come out.
your extreme frugality.
Frugality.
Extreme
Ooh,
frugality.
Yes.
That is excessive.
I'm honored by that, by the way.
I know you are.
Okay.
As a millennial, what is this frugality you speak of?
Yes.
It is owning 3 cars that all are elderly as we are.
I call that blessed. Yes.
It is saying, why would I get a new chair when I can still sit in this one?
Chair is perfectly fine.
Why would I get a new shirt
That's right.
if I can still wear this
Why?
one?
It covers the body. That's it.
That is the frugality. It's not what you earn, William. It is what you save, right?
It's not how much you. That's right. It's not how much you make. It's how much you save and spend. That's right. Yeah. Okay. Well, good. I'm glad you've learned a few things from me. That's good.
What are some of the frugal methods? Is it noodles over something over noodles?
Everything over noodles. Everything over rice. Rice and beans, beans and rice. That's what it is. No need for any more.
And what are the best and worst things about being married to you?
You mean me being married to you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I meant.
That's what you meant. Yeah. I just think it's great being a part of this 87-person family. It's great. What I like so much about it is hearing often about how certain things have happened during growing up as a Coulter. Like, I think it was fantastic how 3 6'4", 250-pound boys grew up and until they got married, they all slept in one cot. They shared a cot. They only had a cot. It wasn't a full bed. It was just a cot, almost just like, and strung between 2 nails in the room. And 3 of them slept in that thing. Or how I've heard so many, I don't know, hundreds of times, how Betty would make take a slice of bologna, cut it 8 ways, and make 8 sandwiches with that one slice of bologna. And everybody, and it was just enough. It was enough.
But I asked you, what's the best and worst thing about being married
to
me?
Is hearing these stories, being able to hear these stories.
That's the best part.
Over and over. Well, it's pickings are slim, but it's so I'm going there.
Okay.
Or how 8 of you shared a Pinto car, a single Pinto car, which miraculously did not blow up like all the others, but it did jump a hedge. Or that the hedge was often trimmed with just scissors, which took months and months. So being a part of the family is a great part of being married to you. You are a good mother, good wife, good cook. I do think you're a good cook. I do like that. Maybe that's the best thing about you, is being a good cook. But that's some of That's some of the great things.
We have a write-in question here.
Yes,
and then you
good.
can continue.
Yeah.
From either perspective, Ann or Jeff,
Mm.
describe Jeff meeting the family.
Oh, that was fun.
That was not good.
That was fun.
The first time Jeff came to visit me, I really can't even recall what.
In Chattanooga?
Where did he visit?
Chattanooga.
Where did he visit you?
In Chattanooga at 720. And Mother,
1975.
yes, Mother and Daddy were not pleased that I was dating a man of the Jewish
One
faith.
of the chosen people.
Jeff's Jewish?
I know.
I know.
Well, first of all, we're in the mountains. That could cause a stir here. So, and oh God, I heard some shotguns coming out. Okay. Yeah, it was 1975.
And that did not go well. Let's just say that. And
one of the chosen people.
Yeah.
Visited for the first time to 720 Brookfield, but
yeah. So I really can't say a lot about that except
the beginnings were rocky. But let's fast forward and get past all that. How do you think it all ended?
Well, it hasn't ended yet.
Well, no, with your parents I'm talking about.
Well, you know what? When Daddy died, we had been married 15 years, and he said that he was proud and he loved Jeff, and he was proud of the life that we were creating together. And I think he told you should lose some weight.
I think he did. Almost every relative of yours has said that, by the way, on their dying bed, usually. But we developed.
What did Daddy say to you before he died?
He
said something.
He told me he loved me. We developed a very, very good relationship.
Yes, you did.
We did. We had a great relationship.
And that was a credit to both of you because
we did.
They did not start out.
It didn't start off perfectly, but it ended very, very well.
Yes.
Your father and I had a great relationship, and your mother and I had a great relationship.
Yes, you did.
We did. We had a great relationship. So all that ended well. Yes, just about every one of your family, at some point, usually on their dying bed, would tell me that I need to lose weight.
While another one's handing you a scotcheroo.
While another one's handing me a scotcheroo. Her grandmother, not on your father.
Grandma Coulter.
Grandma Coulter. I'm leaning over her bed on her dying days, and she's laying there flat, and I said, can I get you anything? And she said, no. I said, do you want me to turn the TV on for you up there? And she said, no. I said, can you see? She said, yeah, I can see. She said, no, I really can't see it. And I said, can you see me? She said, I can see anything as big as you. And I said to her, have a good life. And I think she died the next day. So that was the end of my relationship with Grandma Coulter.
What are if you had some last words and it not be lose some weight, what would you tell your kids or grandchildren?
That's a great question right there. What would I tell them? I think I'd say just be true to yourself, be genuine, be happy. Always be happy. Look at the bright side, look at the positives. Don't dwell on the negatives. Look forward, don't look back. Just be positive and have a good attitude and keep your sense of humor. If you keep your sense of humor, everything's okay.
And love each other. Stay true to your faith and your family.
Yep. It's all good. It's all good.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. Wasn't that great?
All right. I'm here with Kitty and Terry Roberts. And we've sat through 2 hours of interviewing all the siblings, and Terry and all the outlaws had to sit out in the back and hush up, but we're going to give them a time to talk about the family and the siblings and grandchildren and just comment on the Coulter clan as a whole. Robert family too.
Go ahead.
Okay, so first of all, I'd like to say that I feel very blessed to have grown up in the family that I grew up in, with the values and the faith that our parents gave us, and even in the time that I grew up. But anyway, I didn't appreciate it at the time, but I'm very grateful for the closeness that we all share. Especially, it's amazing that the siblings and spouses can get together for 4 days and have a blast the whole time. So anyway, but we were going to talk about our early years of dating. And I have to say that, as Terry mentioned before, I really was not too taken with him at first. He was at the Provident Lake property, and he thought it was hilarious because he wouldn't let anybody on the raft but him. And I mean, who needs him? So then he comes to the lake that one year, and we did have a good time, but I, kind of couldn't get over all that earlier year trauma. So so he called me up after that, and we talked for a long time, hours, and then he asked me out. And so I said, well, I've got to go ask my father if I can go out with you. So I put the phone down and go ask him, and he said, where are you going to go, and what are you going to do, and what are you going to say?
He called you and asked you this.
Terry called and asked me if I would go out.
Were you nervous that another sibling was going to pick up the phone and start talking to him when you said it?
We only had one phone. No, I wasn't. I wasn't nervous about that. They wouldn't.
So you ran off to ask Daddy.
I put the phone down and asked Daddy, and Daddy said, okay. And so we went out and we had a good time. And then the next time you asked me.
So I don't remember how long it was, about a week or two. I called again and said, hey, can you go out? And she said, no, I can't go out. I said, well, why can't you go out? He says, well, my daddy has a rule that I have to date 2 other guys in between having the
One
date.
other guy. I had to have
One other date before I can go out with a person a second time. Well, this was very discouraging because what am I supposed to do? Get my best friend to go ask her out so that I can then ask her out again? I mean, this just didn't work out very well for quite a while, but we stayed after it.
So, Kitty, did you find another date, or did Terry send you one that he thought was?
I didn't worry about it, man. It was his problem. And so eventually we got to go out. And I remember y'all probably don't remember the James Bond movies, but he called and asked me to go to a James Bond movie. And I went and asked Daddy, and Daddy said, you are not going to see that movie. And so I go back in.
There were other movies.
There were other movies.
Yeah.
But I told Terry, I said, I'm sorry, I can't go to see James Bond. He's going, really? So, very strict, very strict.
So did you pick a different movie, or did you decide to
Yeah,
take it to the?
no, we went to a different movie. I wasn't particularly a James Bond fan. That was just the movie I happened to mention that we might go to.
Yeah.
I got pushback on it, and I thought, whoa, that's kind of strange.
So he was persistent, thankfully. So.
What kind of values do both of y'all appreciate from the Coulter family as a whole, kind of growing up, and what are you proud to say that you believe that you've passed on to your children and their grandchildren?
I hope we've passed it on, but first of all, faith, most importantly, faith, and just the ethical values, the values of loving your family, of being kind to your family, of no acrimony, and I feel like having fun with everybody, having fun, appreciate the time that you have with them. And so, what would you say, Terry?
The closeness of the family is something. This isn't about the Roberts family, so I won't go there. But it was quite a bit different than my family. I have a brother and a sister, so 2 siblings. But
it's just, all that needs to be said is that this family is so much closer. And anyways, quite a bit different.
You're forced to be close when you're in such a tiny house for Thanksgiving.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah,
that's
that's
right.
right.
And we never thought a thing about it. Like, oh, this is not good enough. We carried the tables in, and Terry helped carry them, and we sit down and have a great time. So.
Well, like Beepaw used to do.
Does any like?
Would anybody like to say anything else?
I just feel very blessed to have grown up as a Coulter, and I hope and pray that our children will carry on some of the faith, family, and fun values.
Well put. Can't add anything to that.
Thank you.
Thanks, Will.
All right, so we've got Steve and Patty here, and I think the first question we've been asking everybody is, what are you looking forward to with this weekend and spending time with the siblings and thinking back on all the years? One of you have to start.
Well, we've always enjoyed these weekends. I mean, I realize it's a lot smaller group now, and just our sheer numbers make it pretty difficult for everyone to get together. But we've always enjoyed our family reunions, and now I guess we're calling them the SIB reunions, just to get caught up with everybody. And there's a lot going on in our lives that's a lot different, and gives us a chance to catch up.
Well, I think the big question that everybody, all of the children had was, tell us, Steve, about bringing Patty home for the first time and when you decided it was right, and were you nervous?
No, I wasn't nervous at all.
I wasn't nervous. Well, I mean, how, you sit there and there's all these people around. For me, I only had one brother, so to sit there with all these people around the table that knew each other, and family, and I thought it was really a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. I had to hold on to my plate because Tom did the cleanup, and it didn't matter. You could have a full plate.
But when it was time to clear the table, boy, he
So you'd sit there with your plate like this, and Beepaw would say, "Don't you worry, honey, you're all right." I haven't finished my meal either.
So your first meeting was dinner?
Yeah, well, yeah, spent the night.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything that Beepaw or Nana said during that sticks out?
Just Beepaw was such a gentleman. He was such a gentleman.
Oh.
But now I met them at Steve's graduation.
Was that the first time you met them?
I think so, yeah.
High school or college?
College.
College.
Yeah, because we met in college.
Yeah, and I forget the restaurant. It's still around.
Oh, Raskeller?
But in any case, and Beepaw was thinking he's going to take us to a nice meal, and the service was just awful.
Took forever to get our food.
Yeah.
Didn't bother me. But Beepaw was so embarrassed. He kept apologizing to me. I kept thinking, it's okay. It really is okay. This is fun. I like this. But yeah, that was.
And I think our two parents, or four parents together, got along really well.
Yeah, my dad said, if we lived in Chattanooga or they lived in Nashville, we'd probably be friends. We'd probably be good friends, do things together. I really like them. They're really nice. And when we decided to get married, I remember my dad said, I think that your parents would if anything happened to us, your parents would make me take care of me. I mean, they would just take me in, So, and that made him feel good.
Oh.
Makes me wanna cry.
Well, I think one of the questions your kids had was, tell us about making the decision to move abroad, to move to England, and
I gotta tell you, okay, I gotta tell you. About 2 weeks before Steve came home and said, you know, we're gonna move to England, I had said, you know, I need to do something. I'm getting kind of nothing. You know, I need to get out and do something. And so he comes home 2 weeks later and he says, guess what? You know, we're moving to England. I said, no, I was thinking maybe I should take up tennis or play golf.
Smaller scale.
I wasn't thinking England. But we were happy with the decision. It was fun.
Yeah, I mean, it was, we had to put a lot of thought into it, and it's not an easy decision to uproot, particularly the kids.
What were their ages at the time?
Perfect ages. Perfect. They were
Let's see,
3,
Christy was 3.
6, and 9.
Yeah, 3, 6, and 9. And, but we finally decided if we turned it down, we think we would be sorry for it because of the experiences it would give, not just me, but the whole family in terms of living abroad and in England of all places. So we went for it, and we don't regret it for a second.
Yeah.
When you sat down with Nana and Beepaw to tell them, what was their reaction?
Oh, they were, you know, Beepaw always, as long as it's a decision that we're comfortable with, he was always supportive. But you know, I know that they knew they would miss us.
They were sad.
But I mean, they came to see us twice, and Patty's mom and dad came over once, right?
At least once, yeah.
Yeah. So you know, we did get to see them.
I know my mother, when we told them, my mother said, she burst out crying. Oh, I'm not going to see those kids anymore, you know, because we had the little ones, you know, I'm not going to see those kids. She was really upset.
And then, go ahead, Julie.
So was it harder for the kids to come back or go there?
Come back.
Yeah, I think it was harder for me.
As a matter of fact, in England, they had for the expatriates, they had courses on returning, you know, that is, you think you're going home, but you're not. And it's going to be really difficult. And one thing they schooled us on was don't talk about what you did overseas, because people will think, oh, aren't they something, you know, they got to live overseas, you know, aren't they special, you know. So don't talk about it.
Did you stick to that?
I pretty much did, yeah. Well, I didn't want, you know, you don't want to make other people uncomfortable, you know. And
Y'all were always unique in the family in that you lived the furthest away.
Yeah.
Did that make it, when the reunions came around every year, important to get back to you? What was that like, navigating the distance in the family? And was it?
Well, the reunions, I think, were kind of set to when we came back, because, you know, we couldn't come back more than once a year or so. You know,
when you were in London, but when you got to Philly, more Philadelphia or Pennsylvania, when you settled back, you still were along, you know, yes, you were the furthest.
Yeah.
Yep. And you know, I think we made all of them.
Well, Beepaw made us feel guilty if we didn't.
Was there a favorite, particular reunion that you remember specifically?
Oh gosh.
I do remember the one at the beach.
Wild Dunes.
So I remember Emma.
Fripp.
It was at Fripp, and I remember Emma. You know, we had we all had our different apartments. Do you remember that?
That was Wild Dunes.
That was Wild Dunes.
Yeah.
Wild Dunes. And I remember Emma. She was so funny because I said, "Hi, Emma." She was running. She goes, "Hi, Aunt Patty," and she just kept running. "Hi, Aunt Patty, how are you?" Can you see her do that?
Oh, I can see her now. Absolutely. She
so
loved
cute.
the beach.
She was so cute. But yeah.
Do you miss your Crown Victoria?
Crown Victoria, is that what it was? I thought it was a Continental.
Which one was it?
Was the Crown Vic?
It's a town car.
Town
car,
car.
that was it.
Sorry.
That was
Town
it.
car. Yes,
The
I
town
do.
car.
Yes, I do.
Then
If they
we
were-
had more than one.
If they, I did have more than one, and if they were still making it, I would still be driving a town car.
He just loved his town car.
So, of all the things and all of your kids, and all of the things that you taught them over the years, is there a particular value or is there a particular trait that you hope gets instilled into your grandchildren that they pass on? If there was one thing.
Honesty and responsibility comes with responsibility. You know, our kids, they would, if they did something accidentally, they always owned up to it, to the people they did it to. I remember Jay one time saying that he knocked some, there was a curve and the guy put big rocks, you know, so people wouldn't drive in his driveway, and he knocked one of the rocks over, and he went up to the house and said, I'm so sorry, I'm going to put it back there. That day, you know, he just went up to the door and said, I'm sorry, I knocked this thing over. And Kelly, she nicked a car going out of a thing, and she waited and wrote out a note, you know, I did this, I'm sorry, I did this. And I just was so proud of them because they were young, and I could see where they could say, maybe if I don't let anybody know, I won't have to tell my parents, you know. But they did, and I'm just so proud that they were very honest, very honest.
Uncle Steve?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Just if there was one trait or value that you instilled in your kids that you hope gets passed, if there was one thing that made it through to the grandkids, and on, what would that?
Oh, you know, I think that sort of already happened. I mean, with Stephen and Lucy, anyway.
But what was the trait?
they're all doing really well, I think, in terms of you know, the grandkids are just great.
Done a great job. They have, no doubt. Got an awesome family. Yes,
That's
you
right.
do.
Well, and extended. I mean,
If I was to, from the outside, if I was to look, you instilled an incredible work ethic into your kids. I mean, you know, you worked very hard.
Yeah.
And were very committed, and had just had a great career. And and I think that I've seen that in Jay and everybody else. So
yeah, they do. They work very hard.
They do.
And
They do.
I think, and they don't like being dependent on us. You know, that was a good thing. I mean, even though we might have been able to give them more, we didn't. You know, we made sure that they knew that, hey, you know, later in life you're going to have to. But BPOS instilled that in you. Mm-hmm. And you instilled it in Jay.
And, you know, Jay was a wasn't Jay a garbage man at one point? I mean, that was one of his jobs in Radnor. I just remember that, you know.
Yes.
Sometimes I think about that when I'm talking to my kids. I'm like, you know, you could be a garbage man. I mean, you know, you get, because everybody's got to work. So I'm like, you must work. You can go be a garbage man if you want, and that's, garbage men get paid. Well, your cousin Jay was a garbage man.
Yeah. Well, he was. Yeah, he was.
I'm not kidding.
I'm not sure Jay would still own up to that, but yeah.
No, I think he would.
He
He'd
would.
say, my dad made me work.
We have video evidence. He shot a video of it one year.
Oh, he did?
Because he couldn't come to the family reunion, and he said, I'm not going to be there, and he pulled out the garbage because I'm doing this.
I don't remember
Do
that.
you remember that?
No,
it was
really?
his, like,
Does somebody have that
presence at
video?
the reunion one
Well,
year.
that makes me feel bad. He couldn't come to the reunion because he had to collect garbage.
I'm sure maybe he had something else planned.
Right.
All right.
Sure, that was the excuse
Yeah.
for Jay.
Yeah,
I'm
that
sure
was
he's
the
going to watch
excuse.
this video. Certainly, he had parties that weekend. I'm positive.
Yeah, we always check around the house.
All right.
All
well,
right,
thank
y'all.
you guys.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you.
I'm sitting here with Dave and Judy Coulter on this Siblings Weekend 2021. And I was going to give them the floor just to share some of their thoughts of reminiscing with all the siblings.
Well, I can say as meeting Dave and being a non-Catholic, I don't think at first his family was happy that he was dating a non-Catholic
This seems to be a trend of these interviews.
But the first time I ever met the family, we were telling them we were engaged. So I'll never forget, first of all, Dad calling the whole family into the living room, and I was sitting in a chair, Dave was standing by me, and he says, "Children, I would like for you to meet your new sister-to-be." And everybody was so excited.
Chaos.
It was chaos. And Nana said later, she said, "You know, I knew Dave had met the girl he was going to marry, but I didn't realize he knew it yet." So it has been a wonderful experience growing up in the Coulter family, because I felt like I really kind of grew up there too, since we were so young. I mean, 22 and 23. And the values, you know, not that my family didn't have values, but it's just, there's a closeness with everybody there. And I think probably B-Paul started this with all the reunions. And the one thing he always said was, "Y'all keep this going. Y'all stay close to each other. That's what you can do." And Chris sent us a note not too long ago about a restaurant that he went to, and it said, he circled this thing, it said, "The best thing a husband can do for his children is love their mother." And he said, and then he wrote B-Paul, you know, on it. So I have been most fortunate to marry into this, I'm going to cry now, into this wonderful family. And everybody shares their thoughts, everybody helps each other, everybody works together.
Respects one
and
another.
respects one another. And I feel like that has been extended to our children and grandchildren. You know, everybody, you know, we all have different opinions on things, but we respect each other's opinion and don't get angry because you don't agree with me. And I want our children to carry this on in their relationships with their spouses and family.
I remember when Chris and Shannon decided they were gonna homeschool Emma, and they told us, they got us together and they said, "We're gonna homeschool Emma." Unschool Emma. And we just immediately lit into all the we lit into all the reasons why this wasn't going to work. You know, this is really not a very good idea. And finally, after about 15 minutes of that, Chris says, "You know, we are not asking for permission. We are informing. Wow. We are not asking for permission." And I said, and we both looked at one another and said, "Okay. Enough said."
And you're right.
So having those experiences, probably first of all your siblings, would you come to the family reunions or the sibling reunions, or call your brother, call your brothers or sisters and say, "Listen to this shit Chris said"?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did we?
Yeah. Did you?
We told them, no, we didn't call them and tell them that, but like at the reunion, we would share stuff like that, and we'd say, you know, they're right. You know, you have to let your kids do. It's their children.
I mean, I just see it from a looking back, Dave, when you're the oldest one of the bunch. Do you ever look back and say, "Yeah, I've been through that"?
You know, it's really interesting. I can remember another point where Chris was, I don't know, 10, 11, 12, and he and I were constantly bumping heads, just absolutely constant. It was all the time. And finally, his mother comes to my rescue, and she says, "You know, you don't have to be right all the time. it's okay to let some of these things, these arguments you're having, be unresolved. You just don't do it. You just accept it. And that's when I went, golly, what a unique concept, you know? And that probably saved our marriage and our children's lives. But it, you know, I don't know. Jude is the oldest of 6. I'm the oldest of 6. And I think we each brought our experiences in our family, from Jude from her family, me from my family, into our family. And I may be the oldest, but I learned from all of these other guys. You know,
Amen.
They all had experiences that I learned from.
You say, oh,
yeah,
that's a great idea.
Yeah.
I'm going to try that next time.
Yeah.
You know, I thought one of these questions on here was, would you marry into an equal, did you think you would marry into an equally large family, each with 6 kids? Well, I never even thought about that. I think you meet somebody and somehow you know that's the person. I mean, we knew each other for 5 months before we decided we were going to get married. You know, it was another year.
Yeah,
because you were going to finish in college and going into the military. But you know, I think sometimes you just know, you know. And I never thought about you having 5 brothers and sisters, and you know.
Well, coming from such big families, what do you hope that your children and their children will carry forward in the idea of family and values and all that in their lives?
Well, I hope that they, and I think they do now already, being that our children are already older, and some of them's children are older, you know, that they respect each other. You know, they all have different views on things, and but you know, they may not agree with each other's views, but what I do like is that they respect their view, you know, and that's not a bone of contention.
I can tell because Emma's question was describe the political climate of the
I
family.
know, right?
I didn't know what can of worms she was trying to open with that one.
Emma's like her father. She's very philosophical. Is that what you want to say?
Well, you could say a number of things.
Yeah.
I think that if I look at what we are doing with the sibling reunion, with all the family reunions, with the family picnics and all that, it's that strong sense of family and that strong bond that you can go, you know, you go have your life experiences, but you always come back to this. Mm-hmm. Always come back. This is the root. This is where we came from, and that we have a strong identity with that in our sibling group here, and I hope that our kids and their kids have this same strong.
As they get older.
As they get older, that they continue this, and that they take care of one another the way I feel like we're taking care of one another.
And I think right now they do. I mean, they do.
Yeah.
You know, they do. You know, considering, you know, I mean, think about this. So far, 3 of these 6 siblings have been married over 50 years.
Yeah.
You know, that's
unheard
amazing.
of.
Yeah, and the other 3 are on their way. You know.
Yeah.
And it's just unheard of, and you know, hopefully, you know, our kids will say that.
Yeah.
One day. They've been married a lot of years as it is.
And Will, we're counting on you and your team to continue this.
Yeah, you and Davis need to hurry up.
No, they don't
No,
either.
they don't. You're right. Our kids were in their 30s, so, you know. And that,
Well, I love seeing you all here together, and it's just awesome. So thanks for
we thank you.
sitting
we thank
down.
you for the experience to
Yeah.
give us this experience.
We're going to turn this into a hologram one day.
Have you seen that? Oh, turn
All
it
right,
off
bye.
now.